Good morning to you, Grenada, Cancun, Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean, to you wherever you are. It is exactly 9 o'clock in the studios of Classic 105.5 and 105.9. And again, I want to say special good morning to those of you that's joining us on television. That's GBN Channel 7, Channel 11, Channel 20 if you are in cable. You're probably joining us via the World Wide Web at www.gbn.gd or via our Facebook page or YouTube channel. Welcome to Monday's edition for today, the 11th of October, for To The Point. As advertised, my guest this morning is no stranger to the GBN, no stranger to any one of us in any way. He's the man, he's Senator Roderick Clair, and certainly he's the man that represents the farmers, the agricultural sector in the Senate. Good morning to you, Roderick. It has been a while. How have you been?
I'm okay. Good morning, Joe. Good morning to all our listeners, the farmers, fishers, locally, overseas, and also the staff at GBN. Good morning.
You look as though you had a good weekend. You enjoyed the luxury of moving around a bit, did you?
Well, yes, I would say yes. At the same time, being cautious of many different activities.
Being cautious.
We cannot drop our guard in this time. We have to be careful.
It is true, and I keep reminding folks that while we've seen a reduction in the number of active cases, certainly it isn't a call, it isn't any reason for us to become complacent, as you say, or start dropping our guards. We have to maintain, keep doing that which, whatever we've done for the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks, it worked. And not with the exception for me of the lockdown part. For me, oh boy, I just behave, Roderick. So when you tell me I am locked down, but I understand. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Find new things to do.
Find new things to do. That's exactly. While we find new things to do, there's some conversations that remains the same. Agriculture, and it is. We years ago we used to say that tourism is everybody's business, and I'm sure you remember that old tagline for what's his name, Eddie Frederick. But the truth of the fact, just as the way tourism is everybody's business, that agriculture is in fact everybody's business. And certainly you are the man that represents the farming sector in the Senate. And I know there's always a lot to be discussed. What can you tell us, Roger? What's happening out there? What's of interest? What is it that the farmers need to know, the general public, as it relates to the sector?
Yeah, well, I've got a couple of things as we start. I want to first start off with the issue of, again, my deep sympathies for many of those who have passed within this period, particularly within the farming and fishing community. I know we do have significant issues there. Also, the farmers, the fishers, and other agribusinesses that would have been affected by this. It's a tough time, so I want to speak in terms of that. I want to also start off only the recent incidents we had with our elderly farmer up Moncton, Maribo side, who was assaulted by the youths. This sort of activities cannot be endorsed, condoned. We hope it's not widespread. We hope it's a one-off. We trust that the police will treat this as we treat any other crime or any matters in this country. We need to take firm action to reduce this type of incidents. I know it is not a full pre-Larceny sort of event, but anything that is affecting persons from a criminal standpoint is affected, and our farmers, are old and our elderly, we cannot allow this type of things to grow.
And that is so true, Roger, because that particular episode, it was wrong on so many different levels. Even if you strip away the fact that he is a farmer, you take that out of the equation. You take the pre-Larceny out of the equation. There is just so many that is wrong about it. I mean, as he intimated, they were walking through his premises, not even as much as a courtesy of good morning, good whatever it is. And then, what would you even try to achieve? At his age, imagine at his age you having to run for your life. I mean, it only shows where we've gone, Roderick, as a society, and that is a lot outside of agriculture that needs to be done. But why do you want that, though? Well, you touched on that. He did mention the issue of the Farm Watch program that he said he was a part of. You want to comment on that and its importance in helping the sector?
Yeah, well, interestingly, because the Farm Watch program, it's another tool, I would say, along with the pre-larceny task force, which the police force is responsible for administering. So it would help, and I know there has been St. David's. I know they have been doing some work there. I'm also in St. Mark. Myself had meetings there. I was supposed to attend an engagement in Concord, but with the whole surge, we were not able to get that done. So there is also discussions out in meetings in St. Patrick's. So there is a push towards that direction, and we need to increase the speed with which we put all different mechanisms in place such that we can really stamp out, because sometimes, and the police will tell you that, certain type of things you need to have a certain level of presence for deterrence, and of course the issue of whether the farmers should have guns and all of those other discussions come into play. But at the end of the day, our farmers are hard workers, our fishers likewise, and they really want to make an honest day work. And not only making a day work, but they also provide significant employment for our citizens, and also to feed us, particularly in this difficult time. I mean, that's how we get food every day, that's how the country also get foreign exchange. So seamless as it may look, minimal as it may look, it all adds up, with over 10,000 farmers, 3,000 fishers. When they come together as one and you look at that basket of contribution, they are doing a lot, and it may look little, but we have to have respect for these individuals, particularly from that context of the larceny, respect from a humanitarian standpoint. It's a real low.
It is in fact a reload. For those of you that's on the outside, whichever platform you're on, I just let you know that we would at some point we're going to open up the lines for you to shoot your questions, whatever questions or concerns that you have, or you can submit them via the WhatsApp portal. That's on 435-2041. The WhatsApp number 435-2041. You hinted. We talked about the Farm Watch program. We talked about, if the need be, arming our farmers, Roderick. Is that a serious conversation that we looking to have? If so, I know it's been bantered about for some time now. Well, what's happening with that conversation?
But yes, I mean the farmers have been speaking of it. I mean the fact of the matter is that you really don't want to be having many guns around, banding around, but at the same time, we need a deterrent. We speak about the soft interventions of drones and those things like that, and cameras and so on. There are a lot of different initiatives there, but then you look at how our whole agriculture is set up in the mountain sides, far away from out of these utilities that will be required. So the Farm Watch and going around in a structured way would help. But the whole issue, which I have spoken about before, of involving the community, so you have the community as another layer, who would see, movements in those areas, and they're like informants, if you want to say, who can contribute to this whole issue. So even using the rural police stations like the Birch Grove and Hermitage and all of those helped as another layer. So it's a multifaceted approach. I mean, despite the advertisements and billboards and so on initiative that the Ministry of Agriculture has been focusing on. But the bottom line also is that the police also need to have more resources to handle those areas. And it need to be treated as a priority and as a matter of concern. It's not another crime. When you look at the amount of crimes that are taking place right now, the police will tell you that pretty larceny is high up on the list. And if you really look at that, then you have to look at where do you put the resources. And if you're not putting the resources there, then as the farmers has been saying to me, we're joking. We don't intend, saying that you're only making noise, but nothing can happen. Nobody listening to you because where is the results? And the results is what counts in anything you do. No matter how hard you train for an exam, if you're not passing the exam, really and truly, you're failing.
Do you think, Roderick, based on what we have seen being employed or the lack of implementation in a lot of areas, because some would argue that we've been having these conversations on an ongoing basis, and when it comes to agriculture, it seems almost as though it's a talk shop event. Do you think what we've seen is a reflection or the lack of will by government officials?
Yeah, well, I would tell you, and I sometimes try to say to put government officials, meaning ministers, politicians, in a separate category to our public servants, administrators. I try hard to make that difference, because sometimes we say government and we who really are we speaking about? They both go hand in hand. Let's not lose sight of that. But the fact is that implementation is a major problem. It's not only a problem in agriculture, it's a chronic problem across that the government itself has even admitted to that. But more so regarding the implementation, it has to do a lot with human resource. So when you look at the Ministry of Agriculture, look at the Ministry of Fisheries, you would realize, and I've spoken to that many individuals from way back when would have gone through retirement. And we have failed to employ and replace these individuals because of this policy. And so if we are doing that, how under heaven in this whole world we expect it to happen? If you had someone, for example, responsible for poultry, for example, in the Ministry of Agriculture, who would have retired maybe 2 years now, and you have not replaced this individual, we're not saying that you cannot put somebody there who may kind of keep tabs, but that dedication which is needed is absent. And so this is the first principle for implementation, because if you don't have the persons to drive it, then you have an issue. And then you say, who approves that? He approves by the permanent secretaries, by SAOs, and of course the minister himself or herself has to also be advocating on the back end. So it's will. I know there's a lot of competing interests, but we deserve more respect in terms of delivery. We're really running short on that.
Boy, that's a conversation that could take us on and on. We don't want to get time. Let's move it further along, and let's just use it as a segue. Delivery. Only recently there's been the budget consultation. And certainly, I know discussions certainly took place within the agricultural sector. What can you tell us are some of the highlights and high points of that consultation as you look towards the budget, the delivery of the budget?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was involved in at least 3 different dialogues. There was a dialogue which was the budget consultation. That was one. That's the last one that took place. Then there was also a private sector discussion with the Prime Minister and the other, because all of those are consultation, and that adds to the framing of government's mind. And then we also had another consultation, which was a fisheries and agriculture consultation, where you had the Minister for Agriculture, Minister for Fisheries, the Prime Minister was also present, and he was also present in both budget and that private sector engagement too, along with the Minister for Finance. And what is coming out and what we would have been tabling from our sectors are a few things. One, we realized that the fishery sector is an important area. It's the number 1 export in Grenada agriculture export, and we need to put more support there. We need to we need to look at the whole issue of value added, and so we've been advocating that we need to have some facility for drying, for both CMOS and also for fishing. That we see would add a big dent in our whole food import bill, because we import a lot of salt fish into Grenada. So that is one angle. Also, when there is a lot of rain, for example, now, it also affects the drying process and production. So this we see could be transformative for the sector to add whatever else is happening there. We also see how do we drive local consumption through different partnership and promotion. So this has been sort of that agenda. From the poultry end, we also know we have a lot of challenges there, and we are working on a sort of strategy with the government. I'm chairing a committee in that context, and we almost about finishing the report on that as to how we can see. And we are seeing there's a series of interventions that we're looking at for poultry. So I'd speak broadly as support for poultry. We also see the commodities, nutmeg, cocoa. We are seeing increased requests, increased demand. We have many fields that are unattended, and so we are asking the government to support in terms of assisting in revitalizing access to these fields, so that you don't have to wait for 5 years and 4 years for production. So we see that is another major area. We also look at the whole issue of investments in its broadest sense. How do you support investment, both new investment and also expansion, and also working capital, if you want to call it that? And how do we make the finances more available? So, for example, the issue of the CBI program came up. How can we prioritize some funding in that direction to make sort of more transformative investment, maybe like a small processing facility that can serve multiple persons, rather than 40 different persons looking for a loan to build a little facility for themselves, So that is the sort of direction. We also, in that same context, look at other type of incentives. For example, the issue of vehicle is a big issue for our farmers. And what is said to me by the farmers is that the current policy favors the new vehicle dealers. So, for example, if you want to have a new vehicle, you have to pay, you get 100% duty off. If you want to get a used vehicle as a farmer, then you pay 75% duty. But most time the farmer really catching the hell to pay for a brand new vehicle. Right. So can it also be 75%, or if it could be 100% across the board, so that the farmer, because the policy is to benefit the farmer, and this is why the farmers a lot of time will see and officials up in arms. The justice is doesn't seems right, So these are some of the other thing that come out also, Joe, is how do we look at some national digital platform that would facilitate production, coordination, marketing, that whole supply chain mechanism. That is a big problem, particularly in the perishables, fruits and vegetables, fish and so on. So that we see as a national digital platform where trading, availability, and so on, and that would better improve the coordination between supermarkets, between the hotel sector and our farming sector. Inside of that, I must say that there is need for a national holistic approach to our whole food security, particularly in this time of the COVID. We spend a lot of time looking at the health and the COVID and the virus and the vaccination and all of those things. Likewise, we have to consume. And what we are saying now, particularly as we become more environmentally conscious, we have to look at what is happening. Our food import bill is extremely high. It's speaking about close to $400,000 EC dollars. So when you look at it, you say right now, due to all the challenges in the supply chain and freight and so on, the cost of goods that will be imported into this country, particularly food, would be higher than before. Only this morning I was speaking to one of the contractors, and he said, look, even a sheet of plywood that was $130 is now almost $200. So we see the challenges with that. So the question is, Joe, is that If we can consume more of our local food, then the cost of our food would be less, cheaper. We'd have less foreign exchange leakage. But also, a significant part is for the environmental conscious of us, who would say we want to reduce carbon footprint and reduce global warming and all of those things. We need to then be eating and we need to be buying locally produced so that we don't speak with one tongue one way and act differently the other way. So inside of that, before I finish, inside of that, government need to have some policy that would incentivize the local use of this product. So for example, within the hotel sector, within the supermarket sector, we need to look at some sort of maybe some tax rebate or something based on proper analytics as to the amount of local products that is used by these institutions, and they would get some sort of rebate. So I think this is something, and I know my good friend Mr. Gabbard out of the Tourism Authority, not the Hotel Association, we have spoken in many ways that we need to come together and have that dialogue. So this is a dialogue that I'm prepared to walk along towards.
But we have to take a break, Roger. But I wanted to touch on two things before we take the break. Now, we continue to hear the conversation as relates to food security. We continue to hear the promotion of tourism. We're going to take a look at the budgetary allocations that was made last year as we get into the home stretch for the delivery of this year's budget. So I want you to just turn on that while we go on the commercial break. 21 minutes gone past the hour. Senator Roderick Sinclair, we're discussing all things agriculture here, and to the point for today, the 11th day of October. We take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
Let's get tough on breed your larceny. It will destroy our economy. Larceny threatens our food security. Can hurt us locally, hurt us globally. To all the buyers, ask for license from all produce sellers. To all the people, 100 for police for them thieving fellas. To all the farmers, please don't steal produce from your brother. Then you sell it to traffickers, hotels and street vendors. Nah, man. Let's do all we can to stop radio larceny. New vigilance, new laws, and a tough judiciary. Stop Grenada's organized business crime. It's time.
To report pre-deal larceny, call 300.
Government, private sector, civil society, academia, farmers, the Ministry of Agriculture, Lands and Forestry, in collaboration with the Food and Agriculture Organization, invites you to World Food Day 2021, the virtual edition, under the theme, Our Actions Are Our Future, Better Production, Better Nutrition, a Better Environment, and a Better Life. Join us October 15 from 9:30 a.m. via Zoom, Facebook, GIS, and Real FM as we recognize and celebrate the many successes of the agriculture sector.
JBN Television News at 7, a pulse on all things Grenadian. Look out for our new features through expanded synergies with our media partners in Barbados, St. Lucia, Jamaica, Trinidad, and beyond. Capturing the latest in news, sports, weather, and entertainment. Credible, informative. Thank you for making us number one. News at 7, live, Monday to Friday on JBN Television, Channel 7 and 11. K105.5 and 105.9, Hot 98.5 and 98.7, GBN Television Facebook page and YouTube channel, and www.gbn.gd. GBN, with you anywhere and everywhere.
Stop the spread of germs that can make you and others sick. Cover your nose and mouth with a tissue when you cough or sneeze. If you don't have a tissue, use your elbow. Wash hands often, especially after coughing or sneezing into a tissue.
looking for that injection of vibes and energy, of course? Well, I've got just that. Hi, my name is Gary, Mr. Smooth, and I'm inviting you to join me on the Hot Morning Show on Hot 98.5, 98.7 FM. Weekdays, Monday to Friday, 6 to 10 in the morning. I've got a healthy dose of your favorite and most infectious hits sampled with information, news, laughter, and all the other ingredients that go into making...
Guest this morning, Senator Roderick Sinclair. Senator, we have a caller on. I think I lost that caller. We're going to get back to the telephone lines. A comment, well, a question more so that came in via via social media, and while it was just a blunt question that was asked, I think I kind of sense where the caller is going with this. But let's go to the telephone lines, though. Classic, good morning. You're live.
Hi, good morning to you, Joe, and good morning to Senator Sinclair, and to all your followers on the various platforms. I laud and applaud you, Senator. I know your heart is in the thing, and for what you have attempted and what you have accomplished in the last past few months, it must be applauded. However, we are stuck with a mindset in agriculture that won't allow us to move forward. A lot of it, you won't believe, is colonial. We're stuck in our colonial past. Because in the colonial days, agriculture meant export. We produce things to send overseas. Just enough for us to eat here, a little bit. And everything went. So we just did the raw material and we sent it out because that's what the colonialists wanted. They created all the jobs back in Liverpool and Manchester and all the other places, and we just sent them the raw material. Today we're still stuck in that old paradigm. We're talking about soursop, but only for export. We haven't grown to see the value of value added and adding to what it does for us. Only 40% of the output of agriculture comes from farming. The other 60% in distribution, in advertising, in packaging, and all the other things, manufacturing. But we're stuck in that same old mindset of producing raw materials to send overseas. And unless we get out of that from the highest level, we're stuck in that old paradigm. Secondly, we are also confusing, because of that same reason, we are confusing farming or gardening with farming. A gardener is not a farmer. I'm a gardener, a proud one. My hands are still dirty from this morning. I'm not a farmer. And a farmer is not necessarily an agriculturist. So we confuse those issues, and we don't seem to want to lift our people to the level of becoming serious farmers and agriculturists. So people produce, they want to sell to the final consumer. So they want to buy a few things, get a loan, get a truck, and they produce it, they want to sell it to me who have to eat it at the final thing. So with that problem, these two problems are keeping us back. And unless we find a way of cracking the code, we're going to be stuck in that quagmire, and agriculture will never be able to get its rightful place in Grenada. I don't know what you think about that.
Great, thank you. Senator, your thoughts?
I didn't. I wasn't hearing. All I hear is the end, and unless these two.
Okay, well, basically what he was saying is one of the challenges is that we've come from a colonial past whereby agriculture as it is, it's seen whereby we manufacture locally for exportation. So there's not much serious consideration that's been given to it as a sector, whereby, and I guess hinted to the touching to and concerning the fact, the whole question of food security. How does food security become a serious conversation when our mentality is that let me just grow something so I could sell to make $1 to buy something else, right? So he was talking about in that context. And I think it goes back to the greater question that I asked you before the break, and we want to technically call it for that. Whether or not it comes down to the question of the lack of will in the context of the lack of short, medium, and long-term planning by our stakeholders. I know that I'm saying stakeholders now. That allows for the continuity and the growth of the sector instead of these haphazard hit and miss plan where somebody just plans for 2 months, 3 months. What happens? I want to plant tomatoes now. I'm going to plant cucumbers.
Yes, and the color is right, because we have to look at different streams in how we planning. We have to figure out from the agriculture standpoint what is maybe the three impact. You want food security and say revenue generation through export and maybe value addition. Maybe 3 simple things like that. And then you set those streams and then you align. And so if you don't have those things on them in a planning direction, so even the case with the budget consultation and all of it, we don't need a budget consultation to be planning for our own food security and our agriculture. This is supposed to be an ongoing process. But again, you have a lot of plans that was done, but a lot of time they are not driven for the type of results that we need. So they're working from the reverse side. So if we want to have food security, what are the things that we need to do? What are the things we need to put in place? Rather than, well, we need to have a program to plant more food. If we start from that premise, the whole plan will be a wrong plan. So, I mean, I'm not, from a technical standpoint, I train and learn to use what you call the result-based approach. So you work from that. You want food security, and you want to be able that individuals can have good food to eat, accessible, etc. And what is it you need to do? So that planning process is needed. Now, if you realize, even at the Senate, I had asked a question, I had a motion actually some months back, and then I had temporarily withdraw it to retool it, and of course the last session we didn't get to have any debate on it, but I will tell you it will be back, because it goes to the heart of this thing. As a senator, yes, we have other representation, but there are things that we need to also do from a systematic approach. Our whole budgeting process.
Hold that thought there for me, Senator. We have a caller on the line. Caller, good morning. Go ahead, please.
Hello?
Yes, you're live. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I've been watching your program, and I seen this old man being beaten.
I'm not hearing your callers,
I've been watching the program, and I seen you have this old farmer being run off his property by some youths.
Yes, go. So can you do me a favor? I'm hearing you have a device that's running in the background. Could you either turn it off or move away from it? Because we get to the feedback, and we need to follow the conversation via the telephone.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was saying, I've been watching your program, and I seen this farmer has been run off his property by the youths. And I have something I noticed in Grenada lately is that anybody under 30, it's like they don't want to work. So I don't know where this is come from, or if this is systemic or what, but we should do something about that. We are getting the kids back into positive thinking.
Okay, thank you, sir. On the heels of what this caller just said, the comment he made, somebody on WhatsApp, they ask about, and I guess it has to do with the conversation again of securing a farmer's securing his interests. And he talked about man traps, and I guess man traps and any other device that possibly a farmer could use to install to protect his farm, his land, his earnings, his family's way of life. Any legal concerns surrounding that? The use of any such tools?
Yeah, I think there is some issues that you can get yourself involved in where you are willfully setting up traps and other things to cause harm. Even some folks speak about tinting, and they would put things on the fruit and stuff. If somebody, even that also is a crime under the Prida Larceny. You cannot. So farmers say, well, so where is my rights? Where are my rights? You know, and this is why, from the law enforcement standpoint, we need to give this full attention as how we treat any other crime in this country. And unless we get there, unless we have separate units that are given different ranks, like in Trinidad and Jamaica and those places like that, because the Pretty Larceny officers, they are just officers. I mean, most of them also have imanis. They cannot even do certain things because of the position which they hold, the terms of employment.
Right.
That also affects, that's a whole other discussion.
But mind you though, why is it you said that there's some things they cannot do based on the terms of employment?
For example, it's my understanding, because they are in money, so they're not proper rural constables. For example, you cannot expose them to too much danger.
Okay.
For example, if you're out in the night and you cannot, it could interfere with the terms of an employment arrangement. So that in itself is a problem. So so that is why I'm saying you need to look and see what is the results you're looking for, and what do you need to do to get to that resource, and it must be action oriented and not paper oriented. Well, we have 5 meetings and so much. It must be action oriented, because sometimes whilst we do need money, many times it's not money is the issue, is the doing, and then everyone has to ensure that there is doing. From the minister right down, have to ensure that there is doing.
But let me ask you, Roderick. A caller here, someone on social media is highlighting the fact that we need manufacturing of raw materials is a critical important. Exporting is secondary. So the manufacturing of the raw material should be primary, exportation should be secondary. And he highlighting the fact that we need to build factories. And I'm happy that the caller made that comment, because I was about to ask you the question. Listen, there was a point in time in Grenada's history, Roderick, you and I, we know that, where agriculture was the backbone of the economy. We preached for years tourism was everybody's business, and it was everybody's business. And that was part of a ploy to get people to take tourism seriously. What has gone wrong?
Well, no, what has gone wrong is simple, and I would have said that in my maiden speech. It's just about 1 year since I've taken up this position as a senatorship, and in my maiden speech I speak to that whole looking at the history of agriculture and where we are, and essentially what has gone wrong is what has happened now. Today is the 11th of the 10th, so I think it was on the 19th of October. That is what went wrong. On the 19th of October, and maybe I shouldn't say that it went wrong on that day, because after, you could have still, everything didn't just disappear. You could have still maintained and rehash and continue, the boats that we had and the this that we had and the manufacturing we used to be doing with the sauces and jams and so on. So who stopped those things? So I shouldn't even say it's on October 19th. It's after.
Do you get the sense, though, Roderick? Do you get the sense that probably in the post 1983 period, I mean, it just came to my mind, do you get the sense that maybe there was, because of whether local or international pressure, to separate ourselves and to move on from the scar or the scourge, depending on which side of the fence you're on? I'm not getting into the politics here, but the events of that period, that politicians abandoned. If it worked, Roderick, it worked. So whether it happened under whoever regime it happened, the fact there was a blueprint, and I remember as a young boy, there was factories. Just the other day I was talking to somebody, I was reminding them, one of the folks in the newsroom, and while it may not be the best of examples, but in your back of your mind, you remember it, when you had all of these industries, local, whether it was a soap, it was a canned stuff, it was for soft, whatever it is, we had local industries. So who were the politicians fooling? It cannot be for lack of brains or ideas, because the ideas have always been there, Roderick. And it worked for a period.
Yeah, we had saltfish factory,
soap factory.
We had doing
There was Vikings down in the industrial park.
Yeah. I was going to this thing with not Essence, this sort of scented thing, like perfume.
Right.
perfume, yeah, cologne, you know. So, so we have basically abandoned. And you know, but what is good, I think, in all of this, is that you have several small investors, small entrepreneurs who are trying to do these things, I would say, fighting up on their own to fight to get a little loan here, to get a little thing here, and we want to make them business persons.
But therein lies the problem.
They are really fighting for where we were. And that is why I've been calling. Let us find ways to, maybe the same transformation fund, government listening, please. Let us allocate. A lot of time, these things is not much. Maybe it's just maybe $200,000, maybe $250,000 that you build a small facility because see, sometimes I must say, Joe, the place where the activity has to happen, the essential activity, is sometimes 15% of the size of some of these big buildings that we build. So the other part is for staff and all sort of other storage, but really and truly is about 15% maybe of that square footage that is actually used for turning out that value. And so sometimes we don't need to have a big facility, but you need something small that can be used by several individuals. If we really, I remember, if I'm not mistaken, we might have even had a year called a year of agro-industries, if I'm not mistaken, because I know every year the revolution used to be given a name to something, and that was, so I really hope, and this is why I've been preaching along that line, and I trust that we the government take some wisdom. Even every year, you take 1 year, you say I will spend $500,000 to make this transformation. Another year, over years, because you don't expect everything to happen one time.
Hold that thought there, Roderick. Senator, we have a caller online. Good morning, caller.
Good morning, gentlemen. I have a few points in any case to discuss in any case.
2 minutes, please. Go ahead.
Now, after Hurricane Janet passed in the 50th and thing gone by one day, a lot of crop damage in June Janet time. A lot of people plant back crops and things in Macho. We get some bad weather for the past. When Ivan passed and Emily passed for a while, they a lot of crops in Guyana. And if people get downhearted, they didn't go back and plant up, they didn't go back and plant back as they used to. When they pass around Guyana, good. And you watch nutmeg and cocoa and things type with vine. Chiquota Guyana right now is empty land, you know. We only using at about 20% of land between housing and agriculture for Guyana, you know. Guyana empty otherwise, you know. The whole of Guyana empty. When I go see the land was cultivated in the past years gone by with corn and banana, then they no more again. There's no more young people who have the urge to go to agriculture. They want fast money, they want quick money. The agriculture thing have patience as Job. To plant, to mold it, to take care of it, cherish it, try to go in, take it to bear today, to tomorrow. So the love for agriculture has to love for agriculture. I'm so small to have love agriculture because it's hard work. And when the elderly people go on to that tomorrow, what's about the generation to come? They ain't planting nothing. They have land by the house and planting a flower tree, much less. But when you plant it, you're going to replant TV for you. Now, in manufacturing, Guyana could be nice in any case. Let the government come together, the business people, and the credit union, and NIS come together and build some factory in Guyana. They have the money. NIS have real money. The credit union have money. They want to even send money overseas to invest overseas instead of investing in Guyana. Credit union have money. They have money to bond, credit union. Build some factories in Guyana. All them come together. Who are the multiple who are the money? And build factories. What happened in the past? I mean, a factory in Perry time and in the sent to Dominica. Forget that one. But let me build some modern factory right now. We have enough cropping now, wasting.
Okay,
every year, thing wasting. If we tap all our resources, we have boss now. We ain't paying tax now.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir.
We have breadfruit, banana, all that. We have cherry, everything, boss man.
Let me just allow Senator to respond.
Let the minister there should be a minister of agriculture. He should be the agriculture minister instead. He should have more force in the minister.
The financial institutions that are saying they don't want to be even investing or giving loans because farmers don't want to pay back and stuff in the agriculture sector are the same institutions. If you look at some of the investment portfolio that they have acquired significant amount of agricultural lands that they themselves are displaying and putting on the market for real estate, for housing. So you see, that's what I'm saying. We're speaking one way and we have to look on the other side. And so this gentleman is so right in the fact that whilst they would spend X amount of million and build a property and then convert it into real estate for housing,
right,
for $500,000 or even less, they can build a facility that they can still lease out to our producers that they would pay as they go, and be able, and the government might be able to find a way to give some offsetting tax breaks and so on. And this is the way that we have to move forward. Gentlemen, you're so right, and we need not more of you talking on the phone like that, but we need more of you in places that matters.
Let me, we have a caller online. Good morning, caller, you're live. Go ahead, please.
Good morning. Mr. Sinclair, you don't need me to. Huh?
No, you don't need me. I don't need you because you taught me sufficiently to be a good student of yours.
Well, that's why you should need me. I'm able to guide you. I will guide you. What you are now? I could remember.
Morning, Mr. Noel. Morning.
In your days.
My old principal in Paris.
Forget in your days, or before your days, you used to buy sabotage. No, people saying sabotage again. Everybody has to know how to win his or her fight. So what is happening in the world or in Grenada? People have to use the people to get to their advantage. You get a strategy of using the people for others to gain advantage. It's a cycle. We're going wrong in a cycle. Long ago was sabotage. Now again is sabotage. Now, what I intend to explain. Now, everybody has to win his or her fight or he could. Now, you have to know how to get the lesser educated. I'll use the word less educated people to obey you. So you have to instruct them in things that you know they would believe in, even if these things are not facts. Even look at we talking about the COVID. Some people say they have the cure. Why not they get and tell the world of what do they do? I heard a lady said, or a family said, that they cure the grandmother or the aged lady. Well, this is a good thing. So they could spread the good news, what they did to help cure the lady, and they may be able to make the same thing and export it and make money. You tell them a few years back, agriculture don't pay. Now you want them to go back into agriculture. Where we go export? This man talking about industries. We're living in a 2x2 country. Who we go export to? We cannot produce at a cheaper price than the other thing, because you, Mr. Sedley, and others like you tell them, well, why we go pay you much, but you don't have to work too hard. That is why we cannot get people to work.
Okay, let me get the senator to actually comment on your point, sir. Thank you. Yes, Senator.
You have to help me because I lost the last somehow the audio coming. I heard sabotage and I didn't hear the substantive part.
I think one of the challenge to sort of encapsulate what the caller was trying to say, economies have grown over time. If you were into sales at one time, the idea of this thing that was just to make a product and get it out there. Now we move into marketing now, where the focus is no longer about the product or selling the product. Years ago, you had say, I need to sell. Now it's about satisfying the customer. So that has changed. Agriculture has always been traditionally, in our context, a labor-intensive field industry. With transformation of economies, it has been a shift for it to become capital-intensive. For it to be capital intensive, then they must be the dollars and cents have to run. So isn't that almost a dichotomy that somebody somewhere is lying to somebody, Roderick? Because yes, you're saying this is what we want to do. there is a concern about young people not being involved in agriculture, and somebody on WhatsApp made a comment that you cannot blame the young people for the lack of interest, but you have to put the blame at the foot of those who've been in charge for the last 20, 30 years. And when I say in charge, I'm not necessarily referring to the elected officials, but even some of the officials that sit in the ministry. I mean, your thoughts?
Well, and not only in the ministry, but in different portals in the whole agriculture chain. And yes, you see, and you come back to the issue about the results. What is it that we want to get at the end of the day? And so we shouldn't wait for a young man or woman to finish school and figure out whether or not he or she wants to go into agriculture, go into livestock, or go into fishing. I know in schools we have the career guidance and all of those different days, career days, but we need to be topping it up. Why is it in Form 4, for example, we cannot have our same financial institutions saying to our schools and our students, and from between Form 4, that this is how you can get financing to buy a boat and to get a piece of land and to set up a hydroponic system and so on. So in the school, they should already see, I need $50,000 and I can do this. So by the time they reach into Form 5 and whether they go into TAMSIC or university, they almost start having that. And so when you look at this, Joe, and you look at the Junior Achievement Program, which is targeting that sort of business-oriented mechanism within the school system, it's the wrong same Form 4, same. So are we missing? And the thing about it is the same institutions that most times, sometimes volunteer their own staff to be mentors and so on to these students. And most time in these junior achievement programs, it's about serious business planning, it's about serious production, marketing, human resource, all the different business functions. And so, well, you miss the boat. And then they realize they're not in school. And then we say, okay, we need to now take these students and put them through a business training to make them good be agribusiness farmers and agribusiness. So it come back again. What is the results you want? And where are you going to start initiating that result?
And I'm assuming, Senator, that result-oriented plan would also, as you said, not just agriculture, but education. I've always wondered, and I've always said, I remember, why is it, and maybe I'm not sure if that is true, when I was at school, agriculture, you get into school now and subjects clash with one another. And I remember at GBS says I was more than willing to drop agriculture science. They made it easy for me because they said to me, agriculture science clashed with something else. Why not make agriculture science mandatory? The same way math is made mandatory, English is made mandatory. We talk about our pillars of growth. Isn't that where our strategic planning, the focus should be? If you want to promote agriculture, they don't have an option. Teach it in school. Let them learn it.
Exactly, because you see, and that come back to the fundamental point, because this is something that we need to leave. We have to leave it in our bodies and making it compulsory. I know the government right now is looking at the review of the Education Act, and it's something that we have to cater for. I mean, tourism, I have no problem. Fishing, agriculture and fishing. We need to look at those things that are compulsory, that are going to make the economy functional. And it comes back to the same point. If you don't have the proper human resource planning, then it comes back to all of these issues. So where is that central plan? You say, let us look at the National Sustainability Plan. I think it is 2035. But how does it, if you look at it, it's still... It's scattered. I mean, in the school I went, SAS, my alma mater, agriculture was not like a compulsory subject, but I will tell you, it was in Form 1, Form 2, right through, and we had significant persons doing it. I mean, I also taught agriculture science myself. We had like about 3 different groups of agriculture being taught in the four Farm 5s, myself and of course MP Pamela Moses. We taught side by side those subjects Farm 4 and Farm 5s along with retired now Gabriel Clark. So we had a team and we had good output, and of course under the good stewardship of the Speaker of the House of the Parliament, Sir Michael Clair. And we drove a lot in science and agriculture and so on. So that was a sort of, we had science fairs within the school, we had different competitions. That was our way of doing it in SAS.
All day, have a corner online. Classic, and what do you like?
Yeah, call back in any case. I left school in 60s and thing in from St. Patrick, and Anglican school. And we had kindergarten in the school backyard. We worked kindergarten from day one since school time. We had deeper garden for agriculture garden and thing. From there, I learned from there, and my mom taught me in the garden and whatnot. Now the farm road in Guyana now should be like that. We could have road in Guyana, farm road, have roads. And we can have roads, have donkey. It's time to get some donkeys as in the past to go up certain place where we will not farm road in all part of the Guyana. It's a problem. We not farm road all about. So we could have good roads, build wide roads, solid road could last a thousand. When you build it, you have to finish it now. It lasts 100 years and beyond. But don't build road today and tomorrow you match up again and you spin up in mud. Build solid road. Dig the road good in the middle. Put good foundation, you have enough red gravels in Guyana. Put red gravels, big stone, get a good foundation in the middle. And you have good drainage and thing, wide road. That is narrow thing today, and you have to come and widen again next week and then. Build a wide road one time.
Thank you.
Time we get modernized and bring it forward and thing.
Cozy Road, we just built, way back in early 80s, solid road that is doing well up to today. Drainage is proper. All you have to do is to just cut the bush on the side.
I think, Roderick, when we look at when we start this conversation, the clock runs so quickly. We're getting the sense that in order for this sector to move forward, it would have to take an all-inclusive plan, agenda that has some immediate, medium-term, long-term agenda, and as you said, must be results-oriented. It cannot be we just planting because we want to plant, but it must be deliverables, and you measure it. If this doesn't work, then we go to the plan B. Why didn't it work? Your thoughts before we wrap.
Yeah, no, it's true, and it's a matter that I've been engaging the Minister for Agriculture on, and he's seeing the light. We need much more to see the light, and this has to be an agenda item that we need to look at. And you don't have to pick a lot of things. What are the 3 or 4 streams, and how do we work it, and how do we focus on it? And going back, I want to just quickly mention as a youth, I remember just around again 1983, that whole period leading up. I know there's a lot of rumors you might have heard that the revolution was planning for us the students to go, well, I'm in SAS area, to go on Granby Estate and the go on Paradise Estate. They have how much clothes for us to put on and boots. I don't know if that was true. Me don't know. I was never in any meetings wrong. But I say this to say that is to show the interest of agriculture. As a little boy in school, what they had for us as students, because of knowing you need to be there to keep planting to secure our food. We have to not be bad about you trying to push somebody to agriculture. We never say we're pushing somebody to be a lawyer, to push it as if it's a bad thing. Why when we say it's agriculture, we saying bad? Do we need to change the name? We need to stop that. Okay? It provides food for us. It provides many things for us. Another point to make quickly, Joe, in all of this is that transportation has been a major issue for us. And I know recently I've been speaking to one Tamaiki who have been trying to find some different solutions, not only for air freight out of Grenada, but right now, I'm not doing advertisement, but this is important for us to know, is a breakthrough. They are providing almost island hopping vessel with cold storage, meaning frozen and chill, as well as dry. Island hopping up to all Anguilla, St. Vincent, St. Kitts, and so on. So manufacturers, processors, even persons with the fruits and veg, not so much perishable, have a new kind of cheaper approach to move goods through the carrier. I think this is a very important intervention of course, and in whatever way, we all have to support the initiative like that, because one of the challenges you find that the containerized vessels on going up, they don't do break bulk. And that is one of the major challenges. So I wanted to see this there also.
Senator Roderick Sinclair, it's about 2 minutes on to the hour of 10 o'clock. Roderick, this conversation as it relates to agriculture is one that must be a continuous dialogue. And it has to happen, I know you would agree, on all fronts. And it must be a daily conversation. It cannot just be seen to be happening by the technocrats itself, but each and every one has to see the benefits from agriculture. Seeing the benefits in the context that, Roderick, if we continue to the place where I have to spend my hard-earned dollars and still pay, let's say, $7 for a breadfruit in Grenada, then people are not going to take agriculture seriously. But if I can see there's agriculture and food is cheap, when we go to McDonald's, when we go to New York, and maybe not now because we get it old before we wrap. But as a young person, when you went to New York, you wanted to come back and say, I went to New York and I had a McDonald's. Yeah. Why is it when people come to Grenada, they can't say, I enjoyed some good locally grown food? I think, and that's where the conversation needs to start. As yes, tourism has its place, but you have to juxtapose it such a way that when the tourists come, they come to be part of a Grenadian experience that is not going and eat in a fancy restaurant, but being able to enjoy the authentic Grenadian experience, the provision, the breadfruit. I got a nice mug of lime juice instead of something imported in a box somewhere. That's just my 2 pence on it. I'm giving you 30 seconds to wrap.
You could be in a fancy restaurant eating the same things too, you know.
I agree. Yes.
I think we need to just start having the dialogue. There is willingness from where I sit. I could see a lot of willingness, and as I speak earlier, we would create that mechanism and confidence guarantee for the production, because guarantee is important. You must have guaranteed markets to get sustainable production. I think we could get there. I mean, I've seen it before. Other parts of the world are doing it, so it's not dangerous. It's not something that is outside of our reach.
It's not.
I want to say, I know you're about to wrap. I want to thank you and GBN staff, the farmers, fishers, and all the others who have been working along with me through the last years in all different capacities, both at the ministerial, the government level, and the farming level, other sectors. And I look forward to your continued working together as we move forward. And I want to say, let's stay safe and continue moving forward. Thank you.
You continue to do the same, Senator Roderick Sinclair. It's a minute gone past the hour of 10 o'clock. This is the way I say my goodbyes to you, Grenada. Indeed, it was a pleasure being here with you. Thank you, Roderick. All the best to you.
Thank you.
Until then, Grenada, so long, everybody. I'm getting ready to take my departure from the studio. The good Lord's willing, stay safe. Do whatever you do whatever you can to keep yourself and your family safe. And the good Lord's willing, we do this all over again tomorrow from 6 o'clock. You and I up until 10. Stay safe. JC loves you. I'm out of here.